Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Sudden Wealth. Thank you very much for all the new subscriptions and the new viewership. It's highly appreciated. As I mentioned since my first video, I'm not here to sell you courses, to sell you private groups, to make you, the next big call, whatever. I don't promise any of these things. I'm just trying to open your mind and to learn how to distinguish certain traits. And hopefully you'll be able to succeed and protect yourself against scammers. Now, yesterday I made a video called the beware of the stock experts, etc. And I did focus a bit on Harry Dent. Now, I actually just went and watched his latest video on his channel. And it's even worse than I thought. It's exactly the same things that he was saying in 2015, 16, 17. It's the same thing. Now he's saying the markets are on crack. The markets are irrational. We should be much lower. Sell your stocks now. This is what he's saying, right? You know that I don't give you financial advice, but it's going to collapse 80%. But maybe, look, now there's a bit of a possibility that we make a new all-time high, but it's going to be just a little inch, This is the last leg. This is the last 100 leg, or the last leg to the upside, etc., which is something he's been saying since 2011. It's always the last leg. It's amazing. This last leg never ends. It's the size of the Empire State Building. And look, the problem with this analysis, besides the fact that by the way, take the example of the market today. Everything is up except TLT, again down, which is the asset that he defends. And by the way, he was pushing it like crazy when it was 170. It's now 101, 102. So for the guys that follow this advice and still defend him, congrats. For the guys that fell for his BS, every time you listen to any guy on YouTube making those kind of predictions that he makes, go check behind what he said, how many times he said it, what he was saying 20 years ago, when did he start saying what he's saying right now, how long has he been wrong? Because sometimes when you make a huge call, like this thing is going to crash, like for example Michael Burry, the guy from The Big Short, he made the real estate call. He was 2 years, about 2 years and a half ahead of time, but he could see it. And I mean, okay, for a major crash like that, to foresee it 2 years and be wrong for 2 years or 2 years and a half, that's fine. But to be wrong for 13 years and basically telling people to do the opposite of what they've done, it's amazing. And by the way, even the guy, Michael Burry, who did predict the real estate crisis in 2008, between 2009, 2020, I think now we deleted Twitter or something, but in the last 12 years, he predicted 24 crashes. So maybe the real estate crisis was the old broken clock story, but stepping aside from it. So the issue is that Harry Dent looks at 1929 and he compares it to today. Now, there are major problems with this analysis. The number one being the way people trade and the way people buy and sell stocks have nothing to do with the time. The number of people involved, the transactions per day, the quickness that you can do it, the stops that the system has in case there's too much selling and things. It's just not the same. I mean, not even compared to the 80s. Even if you compare to the old systems in the 80s, it's night and day. Now, the psychology of investors is the same. That part I agree. But the way that the trading is done is completely different. So you're already comparing apples with oranges. But the main problem is the US used to be under a gold standard. Now, that means that if you print money, you debase your currency so fast, you have hyperinflation. So if you do it, it becomes very apparent the damages of your policies. Now, the damages of the policies that happened in the previous years with the lowering of interest rates and the printing of money is you didn't see the inflation in the grocery store, but you did see it in the stock market and the real estate market. So when he says things like, then you're saying that we can just have prosperity for nothing. No, the cost that you're paying is this. In the 60s, one guy, high school diploma, could have 4 children, his wife would stay home, 2 cars, a house, going on holiday. Nowadays, 2 people, master's degrees, can barely afford having 2 kids. That's the price you're paying for all these policies of the past. These huge trade deficits, the going off the gold standard, these huge budget deficits. This is what you're paying. You don't need to see CPI of 100% to feel the pain. This is the difference. It just takes much longer. Why does it take much longer? Because when the US prints money, they print money for the entire world. Why? Because half the world global trade is done in dollars. Why the UK still has 10% inflation? Because when UK prints pounds, the pounds stay in the country because nobody needs pounds for anything. So the difference, the fact that you're not in the gold standard, these guys just print money out of existence and they push the asset prices up so you don't see the crashes so hard. What is the price to pay for that? Try to buy an apartment. Try as a young person, as a below 30 person, below 35. You go buy stocks. Everything is priced out of yin yang. But what is the reason for it? Because the S&P is trailing the money supply, and as the money supply goes up, the S&P goes up. At the end of the day, you are in the same place. If you own stocks, you actually win because most of the population cannot afford to own stocks. So when you see people now you check in the news and say, oh, very strong labor market. Is it? Or maybe it's people that one job used to cover for all the expenses and now it doesn't, so they need to get a second and third job. So that labor market becomes extremely strong. But the point is, he fails to realize the difference that we no longer have a gold standard in which basically they cannot do much, otherwise they completely destroy their currency. And then you can see things going down 80%, 90%. In this day and age, you won't see it. Now, this will create situations like Japan, in which the average growth is 0% over 30 years. Everything is the same like it was 30 years. More adult diapers are sold in Japan than baby diapers. So that is the price you pay at the end for this game. And this will indeed go wrong. And I think the politicians are betting everything on artificial intelligence to basically bail them out of this. But they know very well what they're doing and they know what's going to cause in the future. It's just not going to happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. He said it himself. Japan has been doing this for 30 years and they are still standing. So why the hell would the US do this for 10 years and completely collapse? It makes no sense. In any case, just for you to have an idea how can people get used to anything, I'll leave you with that. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. The US fought a war for independence with Great Britain. You know why? Because Great Britain wanted the US to pay 25% in taxes. That's it. Some of you would kill for a 25% tax rate now. The US fought a war because they were being charged 25% taxes, and now you're charged 50 and 60 and 40, and God knows if you combine all the taxes, between 50 and 60 if you're in the high end, and you do nothing. That's what happens. That is the cost of all these policies. When Mr. Harry says, oh, then you're telling me you're doing this for nothing. No, you're doing this at a huge cost. That is the cost. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.